All right, welcome back. So we're prioritizing that. There has to be a solution. That's what everybody wants, actually. So you see those two gentlemen, they are joining us this morning to shed some light on this subject matter. Dr. Dele Ashiru, Chairman, ASUU Unilag Chapter. Good morning and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for this invitation.
Well, this is really protracted, not what a lot of people want to see. They wish that they had ended many months ago. But this morning, if it's anything to go by, where the report indicated that government likes to reopen the school, there's a meeting of vice chancellors, pro-chancellors, trying to see what they can do to sort it out. Are we supposed to take that as a ray of hope to this whole scenario? What does that do to this equation now?
Well, thank you very much. It's part of government's, diversionary tactics. The pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors are not in dispute with government. So, whatever that meeting is going to achieve is yet to be seen. What government ought to concentrate on doing is to negotiate with our union. This is an industrial crisis. Pro-chancellors, vice-chancellors are appointees of government. It's another jamboree to waste government's money. You bring all pro-chancellors all over the country, house them in an hotel, feed them in, an economy and in a crisis where government says it doesn't have money. The Ministry of Education could save all those, little bits, put together and confront the crisis in the education system.
So isn't it tenable when they say there are other academic staff or other members of staff in the university environment? So if they want to go back to work, nothing should stop them. For instance, they say, no, SANU, NASU, they've called off their own version of the strike. And so government thinks on the strength of that, nothing wrong with having a meeting as part of our measures to see how we can address this.
Well, any union can choose to take any decision it so chooses. SANU, NASU can call off strike. But like vice chancellors have pointed out, SANU and NASU don't go to classroom. And what is the essence of opening the universities when students can't go back to class? Our union will not prevent any union from resuming work. Of course, we didn't start our strike because of consideration for other unions. We started the strike like we have always done in the interest of the Nigerian university system. And all the concessions we have gotten over the years, there's no one, not one, that is not without a struggle. And it's a sad commentary.
But doesn't that speak to the disunity in the struggle, really? Because even before the other unions, called off the strike, before the intervention by this Minister of Education, NASU had said whatever negotiation ASUU is embarking on with government they will not be bound by it. But if the unions, and along with ASUU, were united, it would take them a whole lot further in the struggle. Don't you agree?
No, I don't.
Why?
Yeah, thank you. You see, in the university system, each union has its own lines of duties, lines of communication, qualification to be what in the university. And if you take the history of struggles in the universities, over the years, you find out that our union had always, been the leader. Others may not know, they may want to, join and lash on what ASUU is doing. But the fact remains that the university is about students and teachers. And unions can enter into any kind of bargain with government, with anybody. What remains, sacrosanct is what government is discussing with our union.
But government says that they've met about 80% of ASUU's demands. So if someone has met 80% in labor, that's almost like it's been done. Isn't it?
Which government? This Minister of Education, Adam.
They've not met 80%. So how many?
Not one.
Not one of the
Not
agreements?
one item. Not one. Even the ones that require no money. For example, we desire that a government's white paper on the report of the visitation panel be released. Up till as I am talking to you, more than 2 years ago, Adamu cannot release white paper. But in fact, he should receive the award as the most lying minister in this government.
No, that's not going to be. That's going to be
80% of what?
That's going to be attacking his personality.
No.
So we're going to just stay on the issues,
This
if you will.
is Minister of Education. I didn't mention his name.
But I thought that.
And you cited Minister of Education. Oh yeah, so.
But I thought that at the time, ASUU had said that they had agreed on certain things, but and they had agreed on IPIS, that platform. Is there no agreement on that?
You see, what we were told by the so-called tripartite plus meeting was that all the 3 platforms will be tested, and whichever is best will be acceptable to government. Now that test had been concluded. The minister himself told you that. The Minister of Digital Information and Communication and all that, Pantami, told the world that. Recall that when we started the struggle for IPPIs, everybody in Nigeria, why would an employee be dictating how he is going to be paid and all that, dictating to his employer? But today, our union is vindicated. Not only is it coming from government functionaries that IPPIS is a failure, the antics of the now discredited and what is his name now? Idris, Accountant General of the Federation, who is languishing in jail for stealing 170 billion from IPPIS. So we are saying that today, government says test the 3. The 3 had been tested. UTAS came tops.
He's not in jail yet. The matter is still going.
Is in prison.
It's just an accusation. He's innocent until proven guilty in the court of
okay.
law. So just to put that out there.
EFCC should help us.
Okay, so help us understand the nature of the negotiations. If the Minister of Education says government has met 80% of your demands and you say no, they have not met 80%, what has government offered that such that you are saying no, this is not acceptable to us? And is there a possibility that ASUU and government can meet themselves halfway in the nature of the negotiations? I know that ASUU officials have been, discreet about telling pressmen figures, but
the demands
as much
are
as
right
possible,
there, by the way.
As much as possible, what's ASUU giving? What's the government giving? What's ASUU saying we can take?
If you could just align it with that, those are your demands, aren't they?
Payment of nothing.
Okay.
University UTAS, nothing. Improve funding to state universities. They are not even talking about that. Promotion areas, nothing. Full university autonomy, nothing.
What about the balance of earned academic allowance that ought to have been released? What is government saying that we can offer to pay now?
Nothing. Government said informally though, because there's nothing on paper. And our union is too sophisticated to take verbal promises, even the one written down, were not implemented, not only the ones that is coming out from a minister. And academic allowance, they say they will pay some amount. In 2023 budget, when this government will no longer be in power. So we are saying that present something concrete. Let me give you a background.
So what happened to that 50 billion that government says they've released for the payments of that earned academic allowance?
They are going to release. And there's no evidence. I am going to. It's not I have. And I am going to. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's not December this year. 2023.
Okay.
What about the 30 to 60,000 naira offered as a monthly increase on salary payment? Help us understand that offer. What exactly does it mean?
Well, we had a negotiation with government. A draft proposal was submitted by Nene Briggs. And of course, there's a paid advertorial by that committee telling the world that what virtually all the ministers who spoke on this matter have said it's not true. And in serious societies, such ministers should have thrown in the towel. We are still expecting their letter. That's one. Number two, we negotiated salary increase. As you may care to know, the last time we got any salary increase was in 2009. That's about 13 years ago. And now that and between 2009 and today, we have been on constant struggle with government. Now that they are to increase money, government came with 60,000 proposal for senior officers and 30 for other cadres as a take it or leave it award. Unfortunately, our union since 1992 and more consolidated in 1981, we have gone past receiving awards from government.
Okay, comrade, we need to go to Abuja, but many were of the opinion at the time that the bone of contention was the no work, no pay clause. And if that had been addressed, ASUU will be back in class now. Was that not right? Was that not the impression that...
That's not correct. That is the narrative from the Minister of Education. See, before you even get to no work, no pay and all that in the negotiation, you must have resolved substantially the issues in dispute. I just told you now, not only one, not one single one.
Okay. Well, let's bring in our call. We have your compatriots in this struggle. He is in Abuja. Mark, if I could call him that.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I had to chuckle at that. I think that he'll determine if he's a compatriot. I believe he's a patriot, and I know he is. We have with us this morning the Director General of the Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies, Mr. Issa Aremu. He's also a former Vice President of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Elite this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mope, and let me also extend the same compliment to my comrades in Lagos, Bukola, of course, Chambali, and of course, my comrade Dele Ashiru, chairman of ASUU for University of Lagos.
Well, quite a lot. I mean, it's been a very disturbing 6 months plus now that ASUU has been on strike, and this is not the first time they've been going. This is not the first time they've gone on strike, but this. I think people have been a little more concerned because it didn't think that it was going to last this long. Initially, it was a warning strike, I think, for about a month, and then later on it was extended, and then now it's now been declared indefinite. And this has also been coming with, you know, glimpses of hope. Oh, they will soon call it off. Oh, government has, you know, been able to get to 80% of what it is they demanded. Even at some point, we heard from the ASUU president himself that, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like they will soon call this off. But it looks like, you know, negotiations have fallen apart now and an indefinite strike action has been called. As somebody who's been in the labor struggle, who has been involved in negotiations with and for the NLC, what do you think has led to this impasse we're witnessing?
Well, thank you so much, Mope. I think I also share the same concern, you know, and it's quite unfortunate because I thought by now we should be able to reopen the schools, public universities in particular, and federal universities, get students out of the street and return back to learning. But as I said, here we are. But again, maybe we need to do some reflections, you know, and I've tried to say so on this platform, that what we have at hand is a legacy crisis. I think I was trying to do the last check now. You know, there have been shutdown of public universities 16 times since 1999, 16 times. And if you look at the number of days, effectively, I think it's almost about 62. It amounts to 62 months, you know, do the calculation. That comes to roughly about 5 years plus. That's enough to train a doctor, to turn out pharmacist, is enough to produce many social scientists, of course, mass communicators like you. So what we are saying that in effect, since 1999, we've denied learning for our students. So now, my take here is that, and I think I listened very well to Comrade Dele Ashiru very well. I think my take here is that we need a new paradigm shift. What have we been doing to handle the labor disputes in the education sector, which is giving us the same result, same vicious circle as we make a demand, for whatever reason, communication will break down as we go on strikes, But there are new lexicons which I've learned now, and I think we're all learning because after decades in trade union movement, I never knew of rollover strikes. And then we have total comprehensive strikes. So I think there is need for a shift. And I think it's not insurmountable, but we need to return to time-tested traditions of collective bargaining, which had really stabilized many sectors in this economy. Let me leave you with this thought. The National Union of Teachers, NUT, is one of the first generation trade unions. It was formed in 1938. They've been in these struggles, couple of struggles. They were demanding for teachers, salary structure, TSS. They've also been in struggle to increase the tenure from 60 to 65 for retirement. But they've gotten this now. What were they doing without the shutdown of primary and secondary school education? I think the key to the result at the end of the day is negotiation, bargaining, the spirit of compromise. In the world of work, it has been emphasized by our labor laws that disputes are inevitable. There will always be disputes, and we can analyze them. Dispute of right, dispute of interest, whatever you call them. But the inevitability doesn't mean they are not surmountable. So all you need to do is that let there be spirit of negotiation, of discussion, and to do so you need social dialogue, not diatribes. Not diatribes. I mean, Comrade Hele very well. I mean, my very good friend Ashiru, I listened to him. I mean, even within us as comrades, when you say this minister, you already try to close debate. I mean, two people who are in dispute can never get result through exchange of argument. They will get result if everybody thinks, have an open mind that we can have some level of compromise. And I can say so since 1999, and I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility because ASUU is also an affiliate of Nigeria Labour Congress. And the beauty of affiliation is that we should try to learn from the methods that have worked for other affiliates. Within this, since 1999, do the checking, Mope. NSC has commendably brought about 3 national minimum wages. Under Obasanjo, 1999, we did have single strike. Comrade Adam Soshomole was the NSC president at that time. Even when we had a dispute whether the national minimum wage would be 5,500, and the Comrade Adam was a citizen, federal should pay more, 7,500, and then we also had some oil-producing state, to have special rate of 6,500. It was a bit protracted, but we never went on strike. Then under President Jonathan, we also improved on the new minimum wage. We brought it to 18,000. There was a threat of one-day national strike. But quickly, because once you do the threat, you even go on strike. Once they call for negotiation, you suspend the strike, you return for negotiation. Then under this version, we've also gotten a 30,000 minimum wage. Now, what are the unions doing there? Is the spirit of negotiation, compromise, mutual respect, ability to know that industrial disputes are not industrial warfare. And at the end of the day, you must have a way to resolve the crisis. So I'm a bit...
Industrial disputes are not industrial
warfare.
Now, some people will say that maybe this perspective is now coming because you are the Director General of a Labour Institute, and you have had time to calm down
No,
and maybe reflect on
no,
how Labour struggles have been over the years.
Okay.
But while you were in the struggle, I do not think that, you know, that was how you saw them.
No, more we never saw it.
Oftentimes, a lot of Nigerians perceive, you know, Labour's action as war. Only recently, we saw what the National Union of Nigerian electricity workers, electricity employees, threatened, and they shut down effectively the national grid, so to speak, you know, effectively stopping electricity to many Nigerian facilities, homes, and offices. These are the kinds of things that we have seen over the years. Right now, you're saying that there needs to be negotiation, there needs to be dialogue, not diatribes. But from what you have seen, and I'm sure that every side will have its own blame in this scenario, what Labour quarrels with, what ASUU quarrels with in this scenario, is the fact that federal government has set up a negotiation committee, NIMI Briggs, to look at the NIMI Briggs committee to look at the issues. And the NIMI Briggs committee has come up with a resolution, has come up with something that they can present to. Yet, it was seen that that has not been able to. The federal government is rejecting that. And Labour ASUU is asking, how is this possible? That you set up something, and this is what they come up with, and you're rejecting it? These are some of the issues. So there are questions as to government sincerity in this entire business. Of course, we'll also be asking ASUU a few questions as well. But this is what we, as observers in the Nigerian space, are seeing, because we're the ones who are bearing the brunt of what is happening. From what you see, if you were to apportion, I don't want to say apportion faults, but if you were to examine the process and say, this is what is wrong with this particular process, this is why it is protracted, what would you be saying? What would you be pointing at?
Yeah, but exactly what, I won't say more than what I've been saying, or which I've said on this platform, and which I'm trying to repeat here. Mokwe, I've been part of those struggles, and proudly, and I've given examples of how we got minimum wages. You know, we didn't do so through indefinite total strikes. That's the point. We did it through negotiation, and it was protracted. And let me learn that. And that negotiation is not just to deal with one party. There are multiple parties.
Are you saying that there is no situation that would warrant indefinite total strikes?
No, it's not impossible. I mean, it's not impossible, but at the end of the day, strike is just the means. The end is resolutions of the problems. You gave me the example of electricity workers union. I mean, just recently, that's fresh memory. Now, what happened? Again, legacy crisis. During the privatization, you hold some energy workers, some of their, entitlements, and electricity workers union under Comrade Jiro has been demanding, fighting. They couldn't get it done. They were forced to go on strike. But how long did that strike? How did it last? I mean, we thought the implication for, energy is life for all of us. They switch off. But immediately, government came in. They suspended the strikes. As I am talking to you now, at least my findings show that negotiation is on, and they're almost resolving the problems. It wasn't protracted. It wasn't.
Why did they have to get to?
So what I'm saying, but that's precisely the point I'm raising, that what has been going on in the education sector that is giving us this result, we must revisit them. Government must learn to listen to ASUU, in this case, very well. Listen to all the sector unions, and I'm very sure.
Would you say they are not listening?
No, what I mean is that promptly they should respond to the demands, and when you enter into agreement, try and find a way to respect the agreement very, very well. And if there is need to revisit the agreement, have a provision for reopener clause, discuss them, as the case may be. But the bottom line I want to raise is that it's for all the parties. It takes two hands to clap. Once there's demonstration of good faith, and I listened to ASUU President Emmanuel Osajoke, Prof, yesterday very well. I mean, federal government, President Buhari had intervened in this, set up a committee headed by the Chief of General Staff, the Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. I also know that Interreligious Agency, led by the two notable religious leaders, His Eminence, the President of Khan, they also intervened on this. Nigeria Labour Congress has also given solidarity action for ASUU. Now, once there that demonstration of commitment, it's also important for ASUU to reflect and rethink, And the argument which government have put on, which I think is quite valid, because in the world of work, is that once negotiation begins, suspend your strike, return back to negotiation, because under conditions of intimidation, duress, you can't have proper outcome.
Let me ask you
you can actually have. I mean, let me round up on this note. That's why I brought your memory lanes. That over the years, this approach has been taken before, in which government will be boxed to take a decision, then they have an agreement which is not sustainable. I think it's important to have an agreement that all the parties get bought to freely. So government has no right to lock out workers when they're negotiating. Government hasn't done that one in the case of ASUU. They haven't said ASUU should not, members should not be at work. Now, also suspend your strike so that in the course of negotiation, there could be free, wise outcomes. In a way that
is that what labor laws? I mean, is that what labor practices stipulate?
Not only that, that's also what has been the tradition over the years. So what I'm saying, if you have sustained strike for 6 months, wait. And let me also on a last note. And I've shared this, also with some of my colleagues who are ASUU. Strike is the last weapon and one of the best weapons that we use. Now, if we make it to become an issue, not the issue the strike is pursuing, as we are seeing now. Are you getting the point? You could see us stop pressure, and even some state universities, reportedly, they are trying to buckle over it. People tend to strike fatigue. Without discussing the issues, then that's quite dangerous for us in terms of the way you can abuse strike weapon over the years. So all what I'm saying is that just like government should not use the power, to intimidate, to harass workers, so also we should not overuse the power, that we have in a way that people see labor as part of the problem rather than solutions. So all what I'm trying to say here is that I think so far, and I listen to ASUU very well, it depends on who's counting the gains. But I also know, and I think government possibly will speak for themselves better, some progress has been made in this negotiation. Some amount has been made available in terms of the allowances.
I mean, it says it's just word of mouth. It's not been agreed.
It said they will implement it. Government said they will implement it. But government also put a condition. So wait, we will do this, give a concession. Let's suspend while we carry out the need for proper implementation. All what I want to say is that we should look at the bigger pictures of the state of education sector. And let me leave you with this thought.
Just before we're still going to come to you for your rounding of comments.
Yes.
But gentlemen, lady and gentleman, let me flip this back to you.
Oh, yes, indeed, comrade, if we could just get your response to that, because if he says, let's further demonstrate good faith. If the negotiation is on, suspend the strike, let Nigerians and students see that, well, ASUU has a human face to this strike. So while you suspend the strike, you go to negotiation. If all else fails, then everyone can indeed see yet again that, look, this is not good, right? What's wrong with that strategy?
Well, thank you very much. It's very interesting listening to Onkwaremu saying all of this kind of thing. Once you are in government...
is he in government?
The Director General of a government parastatal, government institute. So...
But federal universities are government's federal universities too.
Yeah, but I'm not the DG.
You're a federal worker?
I'm not the Vice Chancellor.
But you're still a federal worker.
It's interesting to listen to senior comrade who taught us all of these things that is debunking here today. But it's understandable, it's understandable. But let me quickly respond to a few points he made. There's negotiation, you return to work. Has there been any negotiation between the union and government? Government set up the Wale Babalakin Committee, 2017. Somehow, Babalakin left. Government itself set up the Muzali Jubril Renegotiating Committee that concluded its job in May 2021. Between May 2021 till February 14, 2022, when we declared a rollover strike, 4 weeks, thinking that all what government needs is to look at the papers, Muzali Jubril committee papers, and give a proposal to our union. We are not even saying that government should accept hook, line, and sinker. What is in that proposal? Look at it and say, look, we can do A, we can do B, we can do X, Y, Z. Government threw that committee's report overboard without recourse to anybody. More than 1 year after, our union, declared a rollover strike for 4 weeks. Rather than respond to the Muzali Jubril committee, government threw that report away and set up a Nimi Briggs committee. We were in negotiation with the Nimi Briggs committee. In fact, let me tell Comrade Aremu, so that he can tell his friends in government, that we only accepted the proposals by the Nimi Briggs committee in compromise.
So there has been negotiations with governments then. Has there been any time that ASUU suspended the strike?
1 minute, please. Now, we asked the Nimi Briggs committee to put it in writing that, look, this is an offer, having consulted all relevant agencies, which they did. We have that letter. And then, government all of a sudden threw that report overboard. So, government has been negotiating in bad faith. And when you negotiate in bad faith, in line with labor laws, and Comrade Aremu is there, one cardinal principle in collective bargaining is that both parties must negotiate in good faith. Government have not demonstrated enough good faith to enable our union reciprocate. And there's also the principle of reciprocity.
So what proposal from the Nimi Briggs committee have you accepted in compromise?
Nimi Briggs committee, recommended an increase in salaries for our members, and also gave proposals about how government can fund the revitalization of public universities, and also suggested to government, in line with the tripartite agreement, that IPPIS be, because it violates university autonomy, and then UTAS be deployed. That was the proposal before
government, as of today, this published that government has set up a committee to harmonize and look into recommendations concerning IPs and the likes. Isn't that part of what's expected to happen?
When the strike is ongoing,
so
what we think government should do is take, immediate steps, to resolve this crisis.
But now ASUU has said that it's no longer
setting up committees.
ASUU has said it's no longer negotiating
with
government.
We can never say that.
So it's not true.
It's not true.
Okay.
We can't say that.
So on what grounds can ASUU suspend the strike temporarily while negotiations continue with governments?
When first there's a demonstration of good faith. And if you look at it, Comrade Aremu is saying that industrial dispute is not industrial war. Government declared war on our union. We are only responding. 6 months, 7 months down the line, our members are suffering consequent upon a strike forced on them by government. And you say industrial dispute is, if you deploy weapons of hunger on the people, what does that mean?
Okay, well there has to be a way to address this. So somehow they have to just find a way, because the students are topmost, and that's what plays up on our heads, and how they can get back to the schools. Well, we have to thank you for coming on. Comrade Dele Ashiru is the chairman, UNILAC chapter of ASUU.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Makwe.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Comrade, your closing comments to that. He said that they did not declare war. Government declared war on their union.
No, I mean, we're on the same page together. I've made the point that industrial disputes are not industrial warfare. So whether the war has been declared by government or is declared by the unions, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So what I'm saying here is that it is clear that government should pay for work done. But it's also important that unions can only have credibility if we also make sure that we earn for the job that we are doing. And that's the bottom line. Suspend the strike. Then government can look at those issues about your pay. And it's been done before. Don't forget that this is not the first time they went on strike. And I know that the last time they were paid for it. But you need to also have that good faith for it to carry it on. But the last point I also want to raise is that we have about 170 universities in Nigeria. 44 of them are public universities. You have about 48. 79 of them are private universities. Then you have state university, about 47 of them. Now, it's only the federal public university and some state universities that are on strike. And this is where the critical mass of students are, who are very poor indigenous. Now, for the people who can pay for private universities, they are running. So we are also, through this action and inaction on the two parties, is the children of the poor in public university that suffer more. So all I want to say here is that, and it talks about low pay, about remuneration.
Comrade, we will not be able to...
I have no doubt in my mind that
we have no time.
there is commitment to really make sure that salaries of academics are improved upon. Just like President Buhari also said recently that public servants are poorly paid. But we need to improve our knowledge gap. Recommendations are not substitute for collective agreement. Their proposal from the Lulu Briggs committee, they must go through the same engagement, counter proposal for government. It is the outcome of it that will become what is sustainable that all of us can implement about.
Let's leave the conversation.
If you know our proposal for new minimum wage,
we're totally out of time.
It's not what we propose that we normally get, but we must get out of this crisis as much as possible. And we need good faith to arrive at it.
Thank you so much for your time this morning and your interventions. Issa Remo is Director General of the Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies and also former Vice President of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you once more for coming on Sunrise Today this morning. We'll take a break at this point and we're back to also discuss another statement which was released in the light of the happenings in the country. Please stay with us.